Welcome back to Haunted Hollywood. Have you ever had your heart broken? You're not alone. While most people recover from losses and suffering, some individuals remain inconsolable. Such was the situation with a young starlet who adored Hollywood more than life itself. This is her story. Also, listen to the end for the final plot twist. Act 1. The Hiker. The Hollywood Hills were covered in fog on the morning of September 17, 1932. The damp morning air felt good as she ascended the hills above Beechwood Canyon and the sleeping city below. She loved the view from the top. The Hollywoodland sign, originally a real estate advertisement constructed in 1923, stood like a sentinel above the stirring metropolis. The hiker stood below the giant H and took a sip from a metal flask. She noticed an expensive purse and a pair of shiny women's shoes under a nearby juniper tree. She knelt and picked up the purse. Inside she found a note. It said, "I am afraid. I am a coward. I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain. P.E." The terrible meaning of those words suddenly chilled the hiker to her bones. She took a reluctant step closer to the edge of the rocky cliff. Her eyes confirmed her worst suspicions. 100 feet below lay the twisted body of a young, attractive woman. The sign had always been a beacon to young hopefuls with dreams of fame and fortune in their eyes. Who was she, and what brought her to this terrible fate? Act 2. A Flickering Star. To try and make sense of this tragedy, in 1925, Peg Entwistle had it all: beauty, talent, an infectious spirit that lit up every room she entered. Growing up poor in Wales, she fantasized about leaving her humble beginnings and achieving glory on stage in America. Peg came from a family of stage actors. They encouraged her ambitions. Peg had a successful Broadway career between 1925 and 1932, appearing in 10 Broadway plays as a member of the Theater Guild, including starring in a hit play called Tommy in 1927, which ran for 232 performances. Peg shone in the spotlight on opening night, the New York Times said. Entwistle is destined for Hollywood, a true diamond in the rough. Young Betty Davis was in the audience and was inspired to take up acting due to Peg's performance. Despite her love of the theater, Hollywood attracted Peg like a moth to a candle. During the Great Depression, life in New York was tough, and theater didn't pay the bills. Talking pictures in Hollywood became a huge hit, offering audiences a chance to forget their troubles for a while. This new technology spawned film genres like musicals, gangster films, and witty comedies. With her brilliant smile and lovely voice, young Peg was destined for success and stardom. The new talkies provided an edge for theater actors who had been taught elocution and singing. Silent stars were at a disadvantage. But Hollywood was a different beast, a savage land where dreams were as fragile as celluloid film itself. She should have stayed in New York, Peg thought. Her muffled steps were the only sound on the quiet winding road. Many times the attractive 24-year-old had hiked along Beechwood Canyon, a quiet country road nestled in the hills below the trail that led to her beloved Hollywoodland sign. The humble real estate sign became the symbol of the monumental success that the unknown West Coast city would become, mocking Peg with its cold stoicism. Peg marched forward. Her silky white dress was inadequate as she trembled in the midnight air. Normally, Peg would obsessively check her mailbox for any good news about a movie or a new script to read. However, blinded by her stinging tears and consumed by anguish, she paid no heed to the overflowing mailbox at the end of her driveway. If she had only stopped to take a look. The stony path ahead threatened with its jagged cliffs and slippery rocks, promising a perilous journey. Slick with dew and shrouded in shadow, the trail was a death trap for even the most experienced hiker. Yet she pressed on, driven by a cocktail of emotions so potent it drowned out all reason. What could have caused such deep despair in young talented Peg? Peg's Broadway success initially opened doors in Hollywood. She networked with stars like Humphrey Bogart and Bette Davis and signed with RKO Pictures, expecting a bright future. However, her first film role in The 13 Women proved disastrous. The movie, based on a bestseller, faced controversy due to its lesbian subplot. RKO cut most of Peg's performance, leaving her with just 4 minutes of screen time. They then terminated her contract, citing budget cuts, but likely covering for executive missteps. In 1932, Peg's resources and optimism had dwindled. She felt she never had the chance to showcase her true talent, losing roles to established stars like Katharine Hepburn and falling victim to Hollywood's fickle nature and prejudices. Then there was Robert Keith, a fellow actor who had swept into Peg's life like a forest fire, leaving devastation in his wake. Their marriage had been a whirlwind of passion and lies, a smoldering affair that burned hot and fast, ultimately reducing Peg's heart to ashes. Robert, with his good looks and disarming smile, had woven a web of lies so intricate that Peg had become hopelessly entangled. His hidden past, a previous marriage and a child, eventually surfaced, shattering their seemingly perfect union. When the truth finally clawed its way into the light, it shattered their relationship like a crystal glass, leaving Peg's heart to bleed on the jagged shards. The dissolution of their marriage wasn't just a separation, it was an amputation, leaving Peg adrift in a sea of doubt and self-recrimination. She doubted she could ever trust again, her sense of self deeply shaken by Robert's deception. The thick fog snaking through the canyon seemed to grip Peg tighter with each step, as if trying to hold her back from a point of no return. Peg thought of her uncle's generosity in taking her in after her parents' death. It weighed heavily on Peg. His silent disappointment in her failing career intensified her guilt. She wondered how she could ever repay his kindness. The air grew cooler as she neared the top, her gardenia perfume mixed with the scent of juniper trees and sage. The giant H of the Hollywoodland sign loomed like a foreboding iron gate, blocking any chance of salvation. She looked down upon the twinkling lights of the city that rejected her and realized there was only one thing left to do. Peg removed her new shoes, placing them with her purse under a juniper tree. She began climbing the H of the Hollywoodland sign. Memories flashed. Her parents' death, rare joys, and relentless tragedies. She wept in silence as she took one last look over the bright city lights. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The events of her life, especially the last 7 years, all amounted to this final moment before stepping into the ether and eternity. Act 3. Stardom or Extinction. Since the note was not signed, it took 2 days for her uncle to contact the police to identify her body. Newspaper reports about an unknown woman leaping from the sign piqued her uncle's interest when she hadn't called or returned home. He knew she had been a fan of the sign as a child. She fell 60 feet from the top of the H and tumbled over rocks and shrubs another 40 feet. Her expiration was caused by internal bleeding from multiple fractures. To lay broken in a ravine, bleeding? How long did it take? A few minutes? A few hours? Was it long enough to reconsider the terrible solution to her problem? Peg was an actor by blood. Her entire family was actors. It's all she knew. Her very identity was uprooted and tossed on the trash heap. Peg Entwistle was not a coward. She was heartbroken. Such is life in Hollywood. She could not bear to live outside of the bright lights and glamour of stardom. Her desire for the spotlight was so strong, she preferred to never see another sunrise. While Peg's mortal journey ended at the foot of the Hollywood sign, some say her story was far from over. Peg Entwistle's journey ended at the bottom of the Hollywoodland sign, with her hopes of greatness dashed. However, in Hollywood, where fiction and reality often blur, death is not necessarily the final act. Act 4. The smell of gardenias. In the years following Peg's tragic demise, the Hollywoodland sign gained a facelift and a new fascination for many visitors. What was once an advertising stunt has allegedly become a beacon for something far more supernatural. Peg's story became legend over the decades. The Hollywood sign, a beacon for dreamers, held a somber story for those who knew. Some claim to see Peg's ghost atop the sign on cool evenings, her eyes filled with sadness. Since 1932, numerous sightings and ghostly occurrences have been reported near the sign, often accompanied by the scent of gardenias. Hikers, rangers, and trespassers have witnessed a sorrowful Peg floating down the path. A park ranger has spotted her multiple times late at night when the weather is misty. In 1949, the H from which she jumped mysteriously collapsed, fueling speculation about her lingering spirit. An alleged story claimed a skeptical young actress visited the Hollywood sign one foggy night. As she approached, a misty figure appeared atop the sign, a pale woman in a white dress, eyes hollow with despair. The ghostly figure drifted closer and whispered, "Remember me," then stepped off the sign, vanishing into the fog. Stricken by the encounter, the actress fled, the incident echoing in her mind. Regardless of whether these stories are true or just urban legend, the tale of Peg Entwistle continues to haunt Hollywood, a spectral thread woven into its glittering tapestry, a tragic reminder that for every star that ascends, there are countless others who fall, their stories written in the shadows of the city of dreams. The rumors of Peg's ghostly appearances served as a chilling reminder of Hollywood's darker side. In time, her tragic story began to resonate with a newer generation of artists and dreamers. In death, Peg Entwistle was about to achieve a form of fame she never knew in life. Act 5. Posthumous popularity. As reports of paranormal activity swirled around the Hollywood sign in the years after her death, the brilliant star Peg Entwistle never found in life seemed determined to finally shine. Since her tragic death, at least 6 songs and 1 film have been made about her. The band Steely Dan denies that the song Peg is about Miss Entwistle. Ironically, the fame that eluded her in life is now freely given in death. Like Van Gogh, her talent was never recognized during her lifetime. Sometimes the spookiest thing about Hollywood is its insatiable appetite to sacrifice young souls on the altar of fame and fortune. Epilogue. The Letter. This is not the end of our tale, dear listener. Remember I mentioned that her mailbox was overflowing? Fate had one final twist for Peg Entwistle, a twist that could have changed Peg's life. As the sun rose over Hollywood on September 18, 1932, a letter arrived for Peg Entwistle. Unopened it sat in her mailbox, its contents unknown to the young actress who lay broken at the foot of the Hollywoodland sign. Days later, as news of Peg's tragic death spread, her uncle discovered the letter. With trembling hands, he opened it to find an offer for Peg to play the lead role in a new production. Ironically, a play about a woman driven to take her own life. The cruel twist of fate was not lost on those who knew Peg. The role she had been born to play had finally arrived, but just a day too late. Her death, mirroring the very part she might have played, became a chilling embodiment of life imitating art. Or perhaps, in this case, art arriving a day too late to save a life. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's spooky Hollywood tale. If you'd like to hear more spooky stories and Hollywood true crime, please share this video and subscribe. Help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Thanks.